Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be another weekly vlog. I am going to take you along each day, or maybe just a few days this week depending on what I get up to, but I'm going to take you along and share what I'm getting up to in the garden, the flower farm, and work as a bush regenerator. It is a Tuesday now and I'm working tomorrow and the next day, and I've also just got so many things to plant in the garden and prep the garden beds for more flower farm prep, and also I want to maybe get some veggies in the ground too. It's kind of the same thing every week here. Planting, keeping on top of propagating, planting the seeds that need to be ready for that time of the year. And somehow managing to work on the side and make these YouTube videos, and there's always something different going on each week, which is why I love doing all of this. Excuse the washing in the background. I am yet to finish that as one of my jobs today. I've actually had a really busy day today, so I haven't really been filming that much for this vlog specifically, the weekly vlog, but I have been filming a Q&A. I filmed a garden tour just before, which is why you'll probably see this outfit multiple times in the previous videos to this, or prior videos, or whenever they're going out. But this afternoon it's about 4 o'clock now, so I don't really have that much light left, but I really want to get on to propagating some more feverfew, so taking some more cuttings for some feverfew plants, and maybe some snapdragons as well. If you do enjoy these weekly vlogs, make sure to give them a like and subscribe for lots more content. It really helps me out to know which videos you like, and also it's just a way to support me. It's completely free for you and helps me to continue making all of this content for you. So I'm going to go for a rummage in that shed, find some trays, get some potting mix, and then I'm going to take some cuttings of feverfew and probably snapdragons as well. I've never done snapdragons before in terms of propagating them, so I'll see how they go. Also, I never really show what's in this shed, but it's basically just garden things. There's no real window in there, there's not really a lot of light, it's really messy, and it's not very aesthetic for YouTube, so it does the job. It's not very organized. It's, again, a job that I need to do probably to organize it, but it's where everything goes at night, and maybe one day there'll be some pretty aesthetic kind of like greenhouse garden shed videos. I would love that one day, but not for today. It's just a shed that definitely needs to be repainted and is very messy inside. So I have this feverfew here, and it did really well in its first season. I think there could even be 2 plants in there, I'm not sure. But I'm going to use this to take some cuttings off, and all I'm going to do is fill a pot tray, something like this, garden tray, with some potting mix that I've made up. In here is some good quality potting mix for growing medium, slightly cheaper growing medium, to bulk it out a little bit, and also some perlite, which is like the little white bits, that is for better drainage. So this is what I'm going to be putting the cuttings into, just to root, and then I'll eventually plant them out into the ground or pot them up into bigger pots as they grow. So I showed this in another vlog, but feverfew is pretty easy to propagate. Wow, there's a lot of bugs. Basically on the edge of a lot of the stems, you'll start to see, I'm just cutting into the plant, pulling up this stem here, you can see all along this stem here, there's actually plants coming out of it, or it's the part of the plant, but you can take these bits off, snip them off like that. I like to remove a lot of the lower leaves, a decent amount of them. There's actually a few on here, so I'm just going to remove all the little ones so that we end up with at least one main stem, and along this base here, this is where it's going to root into the ground and become its own plant. When you're propagating plants, the more leaves you remove, obviously keeping a few, but the more leaves you remove, the less likely of a chance the plant is just going to be really stressed, and it can put all of the moisture that it uptakes and the energy that it's producing into producing roots rather than the foliage. The plant needs to stay hydrated, and because it doesn't really have a lot of roots to be able to uptake water right now, it's going to want to hydrate a lot of the leaves. So that's why I've removed a lot of those leaves. And then once you've done that, you can just pop that straight into some soil, bury it so that the base is covered. And then you really want to keep these trays nice and moist. Don't let them dry out, because the roots are going to need constant moisture to keep supplying all of the leaves and to keep this little propagated plant alive. So I'm just going to go through and take some different sizes of these little shoots, some smaller little ones and some bigger ones, and I'm going to fill up this whole tray to be able to have lots more feverfew. Also, if there's any little flowers, I pinch them out too. That'll just mean I can put more energy into growing roots rather than flowering. Alright, the feverfew is all done. I'm really hoping these are going to make it. Some probably won't, but as long as I can get a few, that's all I'm after. Just because I really want to extend my feverfew over the months on when they flower, which is kind of most of the year actually. We don't really get heavy frosts here, but it would be nice just to get a little bit of a extension and succession feverfew. So that's my plan with these. In and amongst here, I actually had my Snapdragons planted here last year, and some of them have self-seeded. You can see some here. So I'm actually just going to, I might keep some in the ground. The really small ones I'm probably going to dig up, but these were pretty nice of what I can remember. And I'm actually just going to snip a lot of them and then propagate them. So you can do that with Snapdragons, particularly if you're going and pinching them to get more branching stems. You can go down to the bottom of the plant. This one's really leggy. I might show you on a better plant. 1 second. We'll go down here to where some of my other Snapdragons are. So these are some of my other Snapdragons. You can see the stem is much more strong and it's just an overall healthy plant. I am not going to pinch this, but I have pinched some of them, so I'm doing a little trial on what works best. But basically, if you don't pinch it, you'll get one single stem. It'll be a really nice, strong stem. You can then cut it, and then you might get successions after that, where on the sides of the plant, it'll branch out and then flower. So if I was pinching this and I wanted branching stems, I would probably come down to about here in the plant, and you can see there's side stems coming out here. These will then form the new main stems rather than this one here. I'd pinch this off here, remove the lower leaves, and then I could plant this in soil and it would be another Snapdragon plant. But you can see kind of here it's starting to do what it does before it buds up. So I'm just going to leave some of these like this. I'll get flowers sooner this way rather than pinching them. But for those other ones, near the pincushion flowers and the feverfew, I'm going to pinch those. So I have all my little cuttings here. Similar to the feverfew, I'm just going to remove these bottom leaves. Maybe trim this a little bit more. And then I just have these mini tube stock here that I'm just going to plant them into, and we'll see how this goes. Let me know if you've ever done this before, because I haven't. And I'm hoping it goes well. So this is all the feverfew that I just did. This is what I propagated a few weeks ago. You can see they're kind of looking a lot more sad than these. This is just what happens when you propagate and the roots start to develop. You can see some are looking really nice and healthy. And if I turn this over, you can see some roots under there. These were the little snapdragons that I just propagated. I'll keep you updated on how these go, but I need to water everything before they get too droopy. I think after that I am going to head in because I am getting a little bit of a headache because I've been battling with really loud dogs next door all day while I've been outside. I just don't understand why people don't walk their dogs. I don't get it. And I need to go inside and make dinner and relax before tomorrow, which is a work day, so I'll take you along with that and share what we get up to.
Ready for breakfast.
Alright, I am going to add a voiceover in here. You'll find that this weekly vlog gradually becomes into a few days and then I stop filming and then I pick it up after a few days, just because this week when I was filming it was a little bit chaotic with guests coming. I did film a little bit of like where we went, so I'm going to do a voiceover over that, but I'm just going to chat through these few days here. This is at one of the sites where I do bush regeneration and gardening, where I work with Whitburn Environmental. I kind of pieced the 2 days together where we were working along the creek. We'd had a flood through this area, so we were working on weeding it and digging out the plants that had been affected by the floods here. That you can see there's a little lamandra here that was just covered in sediment, so I'm trying to dig that out. We did end up finding a lot of amazing little animals, like you saw that little frog before, and we always make sure to be really slow and gentle when we work to minimize any local harm that we have on the local flora and fauna. So honestly, working on properties like this is amazing for my mental health. Honestly, they're just beautiful, and it's such a privilege to be able to work and bring nature back, increase biodiversity and decrease invasive weeds in these areas. Specifically on these 2 days, what we were doing, we were really working close to this creek here. We were clearing out all of this debris that you can see there over a log. I was just in the water, basically clearing out this creek after the flood so that the water could flow properly again, rather than cutting into the already eroded bank. We really wanted to stabilize this, so we needed to clear all of that debris, which is what we worked on for the first part of the day, and we mainly kind of stuck to this area here where we were also removing a lot of the trad that lines a lot of the creek bed here. I'll show you in a second what that looks like, but of course I need to pat the moss wherever you find it. Of course I need to do that, but you can see here we were rolling it down the hill, and usually you wouldn't want to have bare soil. Usually you want to be covering it, but in this case this was just choking some of the native species, so we rolled it down The owners wanted to be able to see the creek as well, and we're trying to encourage native ground covers like native geranium and some of the native basket grass to kind of fill in that area, and yeah, gradually have a little bit more of that native plants there rather than all of that trad, which just really chokes it all. So that ended up taking up 2 days, so the Wednesday and Thursday, and we did a really great job of removing all of the trad, and we just did some other weeding in different areas. This is some of the native ground cover, the native geranium that we were encouraging, and I'm really excited to see how this site progresses. We also removed all of the debris, and we actually chainsawed the rest of this log so that it wasn't going to build up again. We dumped a lot of the debris just around some of the plants as mulch, which is going to be really great around some of the native trees. The water here is so clear and so healthy, so we really want to maintain this and just help contribute to biodiversity in this area any which way that we can. So you can see here, this was the creek that was now cleared up. Took a lot of work, but is really going to be beneficial because it's not going to divert the water in a way that will extend the width of the creek. And then to finish off the day, I was doing some more weeding of the turkey rhubarb, which is a weed that has really large tubers. You can see this is a whole bag and barrel of them. We got so many out of this area, and it is definitely very satisfying to dig these up because they can really take over an area. It is now Saturday, and I didn't film yesterday because I was prepping for some guests to stay. We have guests over at the moment, so yeah, I don't know how much filming I'm going to get done over the next few days, but I will piece together this vlog however I piece it together. I'm sure I'll find a few things to do. But I have come outside quickly just to plant a few things in the garden, or more so start a few seeds. And I wanted to just document this. I am going to be growing some more peas and beans this year in the garden. I've also got a few flower seeds here, but I don't know if I'll have enough time to plant these. I'm going to dedicate a certain area of the flower farm for growing food because I really want to grow some more food. I've really been missing that. I've kind of spoken about that a little bit. But yeah, I've selected a few little things from my seed stash. I am going to be starting some snow peas. I've got the Oregon sugar pod snow peas. It may be a little late to start these, but I'm still just going to see how I go with them. Set up a little trellis down the back. And I'm also going to be starting some bush beans. I really love this variety called Strike. And my other favorite, which I don't have a lot of seeds of, but we'll see how they go, is the bush bean, the Royal Burgundy. So I'm going to start these, and usually I would just plant these direct, like I wouldn't bother starting seeds, but I am going to start these because I don't know how old these seeds are. Like, I've had them forever, so I want to see that they're actually viable. And also, we're supposed to have a few days of cold and rainy weather on its way, so I might actually need to take these inside and germinate them inside. Maybe not the snow peas, they probably would be fine outside, but we also, like you all know, we have the bandicoot problem where it just digs up the whole garden bed. So if you can, I would definitely recommend starting like peas and beans, just directly sowing them directly where you're going to plant them. But I'm going to just start these today. I haven't made up some labels. I'm just going to plant these in some tube stocks that I have. I'll know obviously which one's the peas, and I'll figure out some system to separate the beans to know which ones are which. But yeah, I'm going to sow these while I have a bit of time. Don't know if I'll get anything else done today, but I'll check in with you whenever I can over the next few days. Jumping back in with this voiceover, I wanted to share a few clips from our little kind of staycation that we had, of a few things that we got up to in the Shoalhaven. Of course, we had to head to one of my favourite cafes, the Cooked Goose on Hymes. It was amazing, the breakfast, I love their food there. We then went to Berry another day. Berry, again, is another place I would definitely recommend in the Shoalhaven. Did some shopping, had some lunch at the Garden, which is my favourite place to have lunch. Their salads there are to die for. They are so delicious. And then I also had to do some shopping in my favourite witchy store, and we also went into one of the fabric stores, and yeah, I was blown away by the beautiful fabric in here. There was just so many different styles that I liked, and hadn't really been into too many fabric stores, so it was cool to kind of explore there. We then headed up to Two Figs Winery, got a view of the Shoalhaven River. It was a bit of a dreary day, but still overall really nice. Two Figs is a beautiful winery, and we did a wine tasting there, bought a few wines, had some chill time. It was really nice. It was really nice to have the fire on in there. We were the only people there in the end, and it was just really nice to catch up with everyone and have some wine tastings. Very delicious. We also went to the classic Huskisson Pictures and watched the Barbie movie, which was 10 out of 10. I really loved it, and of course had to get a choc top ice cream. It's a must. It's a very old school cinema, so I really enjoyed it. It was really fun. While our guests were here, I also tried to make a few homemade meals, so I really wanted to harvest some leeks and some other veggies from the garden. The leeks are now ready. They've kind of just been sitting in the ground all through winter, and they've just started to grow a little bit more now. So I'm harvesting the first one here. I was so excited, and it was super delicious. I ended up making this vegetable casserole with biscuits. I know it sounds kind of weird, but they're not sweet biscuits. They're scone biscuits, very savory and very delicious. I think it's kind of more like a Northern Hemisphere thing, maybe an American thing, but it was delicious, and I'll definitely be making it again. We're also harvesting quite a lot of silver beet from the garden right now. This is my favorite green ever. I could eat so much of this fried up with onion and herbs. Super delicious. And I've also been picking, lots of herbs from the garden. This is parsley that I'm picking here. We really only need a few plants of this, and it gives more than enough of what we need to add flavour to our meals. I didn't really film a lot after we had our guests stay because I was just thrown into being busy again, one of which was having two markets. So I prepped for this market here, and I just wanted to show you the little clip of all of the flowers and the bath salts of what our stall looked like. It was just a crazy few days after our guests left, and so I just really didn't have the energy to film, but I was very busy behind the scenes, and this is all of Jeff's beautiful plants that he was selling, and lots of veggie seedlings that are now finally getting large enough to sell, lots of other herbs as well. So we had that market, and then I included some photos of another market. It was a very busy few days. These two markets were only a few days apart from each other, which was incredibly busy, but turned out really well in the end. Again, we're skipping forward actually about a week after I filmed the market clips. I just wanted to have a little bit of a chat at the end of this video, kind of just give you a few updates of what's been happening, and also let you know that life has been just a little bit hard lately, trying to balance everything and start all the seeds that I need to for spring while running the markets, while working, having a social life, balancing relationships. All of it is just a little bit hard. I've also been struggling with a few things in my personal life, just with some health things that I might talk about soon, I might not, maybe in the next video, we'll see. But I just wanted to just have a little bit of a chat and say that I've been really trying to slow down where I can in the garden. So by taking just a few moments here and there and just kind of not being too hard on myself, accepting that a lot of things aren't going the way that I want them to in the garden, and really just appreciating spending time outside right now, particularly before this busy season starts. There are a few things that are going really well in the garden, like some of my seeds I've started. I've thankfully started getting into planting some tomatoes, which I'm just so excited about, and planting some artichokes here that you can see sprouting. I've also got my snowpeas that I sowed earlier in the video. They've started to come up, and most of my flower seedlings are looking pretty good. Some of them though, I didn't get around to planting, so they're going into the compost like these larkspur seedlings here. A lot of the time, I don't manage to plant everything that I sow and raise as seedlings. That's just a fact of it. Yeah, not everything goes into this garden here. And even though it's looking really great, there's still so much to do and so many weeds to keep on top of before this real busy season starts. But here I am just finally being able to remove a lot of the netting that I have. I had to use this netting for the bandicoot that just digs up a lot of seedlings. It's so much easier just to have a physical barrier for the plants. So I have a row here of straw flowers, which are kind of like one of my more important crops that I really needed to survive. So I did net it and it really worked well. And you can see how healthy these plants are. And that's because I had a cover crop over this bed, and then after that I put homemade compost over the top. And these plants just responded so well to that. Thankfully, this bed actually has the least weeds in it. And I think it is because of the cover crop that I did, which I then kind of like chopped and dropped, then put homemade compost on and then mulched. The soil here is fantastic and it's super easy to pull out any weeds. They do pop up in here, so that's what I'm trying to keep on top of here, really pulling out those weeds. And that's what I'm trying to do for all of these beds, is just every few days come down here, pop an audiobook on or a podcast or some music, and just use this as a little bit of therapy to kind of calm down a little bit. I tend to get quite anxious. I'm a very anxious person a lot of the time, and I'm a very goal-driven person, I suppose. I have a lot of things that I want to achieve in life, and a lot of them aren't that realistic some of the time, but I try to make kind of all the different categories of my life happen and try the hardest I can. So recently I published another research article in a really well-known journal, and I'm so proud of doing that, particularly because I did that as a part of my PhD and also in a time where I was really struggling health-wise. It was really hard for me to do something like that, but I am really proud that I was able to. So I'll leave a link down below if you would like to read a little bit about some of my research that I do, which is to do with mining and the impact that mining has on Indigenous communities. Something I'm really passionate about, but I was completely burnt out with research. So this is kind of my year off that I'm taking away from research and starting this flower farming journey, seeing if it works out. If not, I always have research that I can fall back on, but I am really enjoying working for a really great company, Whitburn Environmental, working as a bush regenerator a few days a week, and then also working for myself. It has been amazing and wonderful and very hard though. Slowly learning that so much can go wrong, and including filming. It's been difficult, also been difficult obviously to keep the camera up. The amount of times I've dropped my camera lately is so frustrating. I was not happy here. But yeah, keeping on top of everything is difficult, but the flower farm is still looking pretty good despite all of the grasses that are everywhere that I constantly walk over and want to remove. But working on this just like a few days a week, or just like 10 minutes at a time, is really helping me. I do have some beautiful stock blooming at the moment, so I've really been enjoying that, and wanting to find some more outlets to sell these, because markets haven't been fantastic at the moment. Thankfully, my ranunculus are coming through. You can see all these beautiful ranunculus, or buttercups as some people call them. I personally love these. They're one of my favorite flower. I am trying to keep on top of some powdery mildew that I'm having. I recently, actually today, went through and chopped off a lot of these flower heads to encourage the plants to just become a lot healthier and not, produce so many blooms yet. And also just to thin it all out to kind of get on top of the powdery mildew. I did spray a bit of neem oil too, in the hope that it might help, because I do have a lot of aphids around too, particularly on the anemones, which is what I'm cutting now. These have been beautiful, and I've been making my little jam jar posies look wonderful at the markets. I originally really didn't like this crop, but I persevered. I deadheaded all the time like I was in this video here, and thankfully the stems are much longer now. Thank you so much for sticking with me. If you have this far in the video, I really appreciate it. And I just wanted a little heart to heart at the end of this video, just to share the fact that I find it difficult sometimes to put videos together, particularly when I'm so busy, but I really hope you kind of enjoyed seeing some snippets of my week, a little bit around the Shoalhaven, and a few little things from the garden here and there. Thank you so much for watching this one. I really appreciate it. If you would like any more content, I do have extra content over on my Patreon page. And thank you so much for watching this video. It means so much. I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are in the world. And until my next one, happy gardening, everyone. Bye.